Between the Abarth 500e, the Alpine A290 and the upcoming Polo GTI, the age of the electric hot hatch is well and truly upon us. And after dipping their toes in the water with the Mokka GSE, Vauxhall is finally ready to throw their hat in the ring with this, the new Corsa GSE. And I can't wait to drive it. But first, let's get those headline stats out of the way. So, the Corsa GSE is based on the same platform as the Mokka GSE, which means you get 281 horsepower and 345 Newton meters of torque. You also get a top speed of 112 miles per hour, but being a Corsa, it is smaller and therefore lighter than the Mokka before it. So you get a 0 to 62 mile an hour time of 5.5 seconds. That combined with a curb weight of 1,554 kilos means it will be the quickest Vauxhall available when it goes on sale, as well as being more powerful than any Corsa before it. Let's start with what's changed on the outside. First thing you'll notice, up front or in the back, are these new, slightly more aggressive bumpers, which I actually rather like the look of. Coming around the side though, we've got some new 18-inch three-spoke wheels, which we'll get onto a little bit later, and these lovely bright neon green exposed calipers here, which makes it quite clear what you're looking at. We've got some graphics on the side, slightly widened arches, and oh, those wheels are wrapped in lovely PS4S tyres, so extra sticky for your B-road bashing. But besides all that, I'd say the changes are actually quite subtle, which personally I'm actually quite a fan of, because it means it's obvious if you know what you're looking for, but it's not too brash nor too aggressive. So I think it still works for the everyman too. We've all known for a while that making an EV that's fast in a straight line is pretty easy. Just stick a bunch of power in it and watch it go. But making one that goes well around corners is quite another matter. It takes some serious engineering, and it looks like Vauxhall's taking that matter very seriously too. So what's changed under the skin? First thing you'll notice, those brakes I mentioned earlier, lovely Alcon 4-piston items, which should help you get stopped on a dime. We've also got a lowered chassis, bespoke suspension all around, and that 281 horsepower is going through a Torsen limited slip differential, which, to be honest, I'm really glad to see. Should help you reduce some of that one tyre fire and hopefully pull you around the corner just that little bit better. Okay, so that's all the fun performance stuff out of the way, but what about the practical things, the things that matter if you want to use this as a car? Well, things are looking quite strong there too. It's got the same platform as the standard Corsa, which means you get your batteries hidden under the seats and your motor hidden under the bonnet, and you get that same 51 kilowatt hour of usable battery from the top trim standard Corsa. Now, we don't have homologated WLTP range yet, but if we consider that the Mokka GSE shares the same platform and the same motors, and that gets 209 miles, then hopefully this should be somewhere between that and the top trim 51 kilowatt hour standard Corsa, which has 246 miles. So maybe 225, hopefully. You get 100 kilowatt charging, which will allow you to charge from 10 to 80% in half an hour, and you will also get 11 kilowatt AC charging, which is great for making the most of curbside chargers, as you can potentially get a full charge in as little as 5 hours. A full battery from a 7 kilowatt home charger, which is how most buyers will do their charging, will take around 8 or 9 hours. Now, Vauxhall and Stellantis may be relatively new to this whole EV thing, but they've been making performance cars for a damn sight longer than I've been alive. And luckily for you and me, they've brought some of their greatest hits to this very same studio for us to take a poke around at. So let's have a look, shall we? In our first step back in time, we've got this. It's the Corsa VXR. Now these, I remember going around making all sorts of pops and bangs and turbo whistles and fun sounds like that. Came along first in 2007 with the first gen, which was then refreshed for the second gen in 2014. This is a 2017 car, got a 1.6 litre petrol engine, standard 4-banger turbo, 202 horsepower, just bags of fun really, and bags of noise too. But still, this is a full second slower to 60 than that new Corsa GSE is at 6.5. But maybe we should go a little bit further back and look at the car that started it all. Let's take another step back with this. This is the Nova GTE. Started in 1987, came around with a mere 100 horsepower, but weighed 876 kilos, which is basically nothing. We've got these lovely 3-spoke wheels, which we can see on the new car, and a stripy interior, which is also on the new car somewhere, but we can have a look at that in a second. I said earlier that changes on the outside were quite subtle, and that's still true, but once you're sitting in here, a lot of that goes quite far out the window. I mentioned the seats in the GTE, and here we've got a similar pattern evoking some of that stripy motif, albeit here with the same acid green as we found on the outside. You'll also notice these seat belts are lovely in bright yellow, which is pretty hard to miss. There are yellow accents throughout the interior, from the striping on the seats to the GSE on the dash, and even the stitching on the steering wheel. And speaking of that steering wheel, got some lovely Alcantara on the top and on the bottom, and some other Alcantara accents around the interior as well, including on those aforementioned seats. Front and center, we've got two displays, your binnacle display and your central display. We don't have it on this pre-production model, but in the production car, we will have all your stats and such that you got on the Mocha GSE, including your G-forces and your horsepower and all of that fun stuff. Speaking of horsepower though, we've also got some advanced battery management systems in here, which will help with thermal management and hopefully make sure that that performance is as consistent and repeatable as possible for long periods of performance driving. We've also got 3 driving modes in this car. Sport will give you the full fat 281 horsepower and all-out performance. You've also got normal, which limits horsepower down to 231, so still plenty. And then you have eco, which will limit your top speed to 93 miles an hour and reduce that power down a little bit more for when you're trying to eke out as much range as you can from that 51 kilowatt hour battery. Besides that though, the interior is pretty similar to the standard Vauxhall Corsa. Obviously, batteries are hidden under the seat, and that also means that rear seat room is going to be interesting. Let's see how or if I fit, shall we? Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and my knee fits between the seat and the door, which is nice. To be fair, I'm 6'3", so sitting behind myself was never really going to be comfortable in what is essentially a super mini. But I do fit, albeit at a pinch. This will be fine for a journey of probably about maybe half an hour max. But thankfully, the batteries being under the seat means that my feet aren't too high up, which means my legs aren't too crunched up. So maybe this wouldn't be as bad as I think it would. But in any case, you'll definitely fit smaller to medium-sized children in the back here, regardless of how tall you are, as long as you're not, I don't know, 7 foot plus. But it's comfortable and it's nice, and we get the same patterning on the seats as we do up front, and all 3 seat belts are that same bright yellow, which I'm starting to become a bit of a fan of now. But what about the boot? Ooh. As I mentioned earlier, things are pretty much unchanged from the standard Corsa electric back here at 309 litres. No underfloor storage, unfortunately, because again, you've got all your batteries and gubbins under there, but there's plenty enough space. You've got a 60-40 split on the old rear seats, and you can fit plenty of stuff back here. Standard hatchback stuff. Oh, picture of grace, I know. We don't have pricing for the Corsa GSE just yet, but its bigger brother, the Mocha GSE, comes in at around £37,000, so expect this to be a hair cheaper than that. For a while, I thought the accessible performance hot hatch was well and truly dead. Sure, hot hatches got faster and faster, but they also got more expensive and more focused on luxury. However, cars like the Corsa GSE appear to be bringing that accessible and practical performance back to the masses. Mind you, that will all come back down to the price. And if the Corsa GSE does come in around that £35,000 mark like we expect, then it's competitive with the likes of the Alpine A290 and the Abarth 500e. But it's still not terribly cheap. There's hope though, as Vauxhall routinely does some brilliant monthly finance deals on the Corsa, and it's those that will make or break the GSE. If Vauxhall can keep it affordable on price, this promises to be a really fun little electric hot hatch. The Corsa GSE has all the ingredients of a great B-road basher. Now, we've just got to drive it and find out.